Welcome to this video. This is the practice priority pyramid, how to succeed at guitar starting right now. This is about expectations and outlook. This is all about what to expect of yourself and how to perceive that in your mind so you feel like you're having a good time as you go, so you're feeling fulfilled and rewarded as you go, instead of only having the goal of getting good at guitar, which really is a difficult thing to do, and it takes a long time to do that. So this is not an easy undertaking. So therefore, we need to flip the goal of why we're here on its head and try to enjoy the process as soon as possible. So I've created a little formula or a little kind of map for us here in how I want us to think about this. And this is, I swear, the answer to everything else we want out of music learning, out of guitar. If you can adopt this, it's going to make the biggest difference in the world. If you do this and you don't do anything else, you will make progress and you'll have an amazing time doing it. You want to be playing every day and you want to be enjoying it and making progress. And if you are doing that, then why does it matter, what you're learning exactly? We want to feel like we're on the right track. And I have all the material for you to practice, but none of that will work if we don't adopt this first. Okay, so the practice priority pyramid is what you're seeing on the screen here. And simply, it's that we start with consistency before anything else. We start with figuring out a way. This is our number one assignment, goal, homework. This is our job before we do anything else. And that is just showing up and getting the guitar out, holding it, playing it, practicing it, whatever you want to call it. But you're doing that consistently. So we want to shift our identity to be someone that is a guitarist. It's fine if you say I'm a guitar student, or yes, I'm actively learning guitar. It doesn't matter, but it's an identity thing where it's a habit that you find a time in your day or a certain amount of times a week or whatever your commitment is. There's no wrong amount of commitment, but consistently doing that will lead to everything else. If we're struggling with consistency, none of the other stuff matters. Okay, so I want your number one goal to be, throughout this entire process, to be figuring out your guitar playing in a consistent way. I'll have detailed examples in a second for kind of suggestions for what that can look like. And it can look like anything you want it to be. And you're going to get it wrong and you're going to fail at it and going to have to try again and reiterate. But we need to figure out what's realistic for us so we can say confidently when someone asks you at a family barbecue, you don't feel weird about saying like, yeah, I'm learning guitar, but you really actually haven't practiced for 2 weeks. You're going to feel like, oh yeah, this is in my life. This is something I do now. Like I am identifying with that. So number one, you focus on that. Only after you're doing that do you focus on having fun with the process. Okay. So this should be fun. And I've talked a lot about like, let's have fun from day one. What I should say is let's feel fulfilled and rewarded from day one, because if we just focus on consistency, we will feel that sense of reward and feedback loop and the fulfillment that is possible just from having something stimulating and educational in our life that we're regularly doing. Like if you're regularly reading, or if you're regularly exercising, or if you're regularly even just spending, quality outings with your family or whatever, like these things give us the reward of just doing it, just in the process of doing it. Okay. So as soon as you feel like you have a grasp on consistency, even if it's 2 days in and you feel like, yeah, I can keep this going, you can start focusing on now what's going to be fun for me? How can I enjoy this a little bit? What should I do to enjoy it? And we kind of make that our job. And of course, we're going to have specific things to practice, but if we're not having some sort of enjoyment with that, then we want to focus on that before we move on to making it more challenging for ourselves. Now, enjoyment can be a word that is a little bit flexible, because you can enjoy a really hard workout, right? And that's what a really hard practice session is kind of like for your brain and for your fingers and stuff like that. So enjoyment doesn't mean easy, and it doesn't mean relaxing, and it doesn't mean comfortable necessarily, but it means stimulating, and fun in some kind of way, right? So feeling like we're getting that reward out of it. If we feel like, yeah, I'm enjoying that, and these things can be loose, right? You can just say, well, I showed up consistently 3 days in a row, and because of that, I'm enjoying it. Great, you're enjoying it. Awesome. Then you can move on to, what are my goals? This is really important. What are my goals? Why am I doing this? What songs do I want to play? Who do I want to play them for? What, do I just want to play with my family? Do I want to record something on my phone? What do I want to do? Once you figure that out, then you can define the path that will lead to that thing. Now, right here, let's say something falls apart, because it will. Something goes wrong where, for example, you stop enjoying it. Well, then everything else is going to crumble, right? If one of these things below stops working, it falls apart completely. So imagine you're here defining your path and you stop practicing consistently, it all falls apart and you have to start back down there again and focus on that, right? So when you're on this defining your path and your goals change, well, then obviously that throws off the path you're on. You have to go back down, right? If you're defining your goals, but you're hating showing up and not enjoying it, you have to focus on enjoying it. You have to focus on consistency if that breaks apart. Okay, so only after all of those things are in place, then we go on to something called deliberate practice. This is the social psychology term for it, based on some very smart scientists that studied the actual neuroscience of practicing and improvement, and it is officially called deliberate practice. This is where you are out of your comfort zone. This is where it is difficult and you want it to be difficult. Again, imagine sports. If you've played sports or have people in your family that play sports, like if you do it in a serious way, like no pain, no gain, is a saying for a reason, right? Like you want it to be hard and push yourself. That's how we improve. Okay. We make the most progress when we do this. And my little note here says, this is where people quit. Like really quickly, we will quit if we don't have the other steps set up in the foundation. Okay, so let me reiterate what I said at the beginning, which is that if you have this figured out, that you figured out how to show up consistently, that becomes a habit and part of your identity. You're enjoying the process. You have some goals. You work on figuring out a path for that. You challenge yourself when you can, so long as, when you need to focus on these other ones, you go back down. But if you're up there getting challenged, you're skyrocketing your progress. This is how people can play catch up. If you feel like you're behind in learning anything, you can focus on it this way, because most people are not learning or practicing anything with actual deliberate practice. So you can make insane progress if you do this, but these other things have to be in place. So you see what I mean? So let's focus on that and let's talk about what our consistency can look like. And I want you to just adopt this right now. I'm someone that plays guitar. I'm someone that does this in a consistent way. And the point, again, is that you will experience fulfillment, satisfaction, and reward from day one. It's not about being able to finally play Stairway to Heaven and then you're happy. No, you enjoy working all the way up to being able to play that. Okay, the rest will fall into place if you adopt this. Okay, so your assignment is to choose what you think you can do for practicing, right? Just think of it in your mind. Really think, what do I think is totally realistic for me to practice? And then what I want you to do is cut that in half or less. Cut it into, make a third of that or even a quarter of that and say, this is my commitment. Because it's just a minimum commitment and you can always do more, but you don't want to stretch yourself. The shoes are here because there's kind of a common story in like habit training education where if you want to start doing something, it's a good idea to start doing the first step of it. This story is that someone who wanted to get in shape and go running and go to the gym, well, for a month, they just put their shoes on every day, their running shoes. Sounds so silly, but if you put your running shoes on, it's pretty easy to step out on the porch next. And if you step out on the porch for 2 weeks, it's pretty easy to start walking after that because you just start going, right? If you start walking after that, maybe you'll end up at the gym. And then if you end up at the gym enough times, maybe you'll do some workouts. So that is kind of what I'm saying here. Make it so ridiculously easy and you can build on it later. And this will get messed up. Don't worry if you don't meet it, if you need to try a bunch of things. This is also just a construct. It's just to be helpful for us. And so think of something, keep this in mind, change it a bunch as life changes, as school starts again and your kids are going to school or whatever your life situation is, you might need to shift this over and over and try again and try again and try again and reflect on it. But the goal is to make it doable, easy, light, and just that we are focusing on the consistency as much as we can. And when life gets crazy, we go back to focusing on that, then enjoying it, then climbing up the pyramid. And if you do adopt this, everything else will fall into place and you'll just have fun. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.